As humans, we often are prone to use a filter for how we view our world, our people, and even ourselves. This filter affects how we actually show up to our life. It can affect our emotional and mental health. It can even affect those around us. So, what do I really mean by a filter? It's almost like a lens that we have on, and it's what we see in front of us, is the lens we see through to see everything else. And a lot of that lens has to do with our own beliefs and experiences. When we think of ourselves, do you see yourself? Do you think you see yourself through a lens? Do you see yourself as your most true self? Do you see yourself through eyes of grace and love as God designed you? Or do you tend to focus more on your false self and are critical, especially of your faults? You expect perfection when none of us are capable of it? Do you use a faulty filter to judge yourself and maybe others? Do you really believe what God says about you? Or do you have doubt? Do you believe more what others say? And maybe the filter that they use or the words that they've spoken over you. These filters I'm speaking of, our beliefs, our schemas, those neural pathways that are the easiest for us to go back into, those neural pathways that are easy for us to go right into. All of this can lead us into living like a false self reality. And what would that look like if you were living in your false self? It could be based on things like fear and unforgiveness, scarcity, or maybe just a lack of self-awareness. But whenever we use that true self filter of grace and love, we're going to walk in forgiveness, awareness, caring for those around us, being gracious with ourselves and others. We don't want to walk in that false filter or that faulty filter, because that can often lead us to disconnecting with our truest self and how God designed us. It also can lead to people pleasing because we're constantly trying to live up to this these thoughts or this filter that we're using. What we're doing with people pleasing is we're putting pleasing man above pleasing God. We're also giving our power away to others, making them responsible for our emotions when they're not really intended to be. This can even cause others to feel slightly manipulated, even if it's unintentional, by our words or actions, because we are trying to get or give the response that they want and not our truest response. So, this is something that takes a lot of self-reflection, a lot of self-awareness, but I highly recommend that you take some time and journal. If you've never been one to journal, I can tell you it is very therapeutic. It is very helpful. That is the very first homework assignment that I always give to my clients. And even those who resist it, they usually come back and say they're really glad that they did, because we can learn so much about ourselves and the actual physiology behind writing down on paper our thoughts. It's almost like we just kind of dump them right out onto the paper. It gives us a place to file them. It gives us a place to sort them. And also, it gives us a place to filter them and to see where we might need to make some changes or some edits to our thinking or even to our filter. I think it's okay to have a filter. Not trying to say we should never have a filter. Gracious, can you even imagine if we didn't use a filter? It could be an even harsher world at times, because using an extra filter of grace is often needed in our world today. But making sure that that filter is based on truth and love is what I recommend. So let me give you some questions that you could journal about, reflect on, spend a little bit of time with. Just sit with these and see how they land. So, first question, am I using a filter to look at the world around me, the people around me, and even at myself? Is my filter based on truth and love and reality? Is it based on grace? Or is my filter based on fear, on being critical, or maybe on other people's opinions? Do my thoughts and my filter line up with how I want to live my life, how I want to show up in my relationships? Or are my thoughts and actions affected by a faulty filter? Just spend some time thinking on these questions. Only you're going to know the answer to them. That's why it's self-reflection, not other reflection. We are each responsible for our own journey, our own emotions, and even for the filter we choose to use or not use. So I encourage you to start with your truest identity and allow the Holy Spirit to guide you through this process. You've got this. You can do it. You are the very best at being the truest you.